the Hughes ancestry and so forth a few times. I'm gonna put another wrinkle in that that's a little different, because if I was teaching high school today, I would bring in. I wish I had the resources that Winston Demuth and Ray Piepenbrink and you, Phyllis, the Remembering Creek back in 1971 to 74. I wish I had those. The only thing I ever had was when we talked about Hubbard Trail. That I could talk about because I knew something about it at the time. So anyway, this is bringing a little family history and Crete history to what it was like in the broader American history. And so about 10, 12 years ago, I don't know if it was on the History Channel, I don't know if it was on Discovery, but there was a program called Who Do You Think You Are? Anybody ever watch it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What, Discovery Channel? I can't remember.
I think it was Pete. Well, I think it's kind of a copy of.
Yes, it was.
Do You Know Your Roots from
Yes.
PBS with Henry Gage Jr.?
Yeah, it was. And the person that was on the day I saw it was Sarah Jessica Parker. Now, I know a lot of you ladies ought to know who Sarah Jessica Parker is, right? Did you ever watch Sex and the City? Yeah. Okay. And Manola Blahnik's. She liked Manola Blahnik's shoes. I don't remember the whole thing. Anyway, it was a story about her. Now, she knew her Jewish history. And that's what's about this country. The immigrants that came after the Civil War, maybe, somehow that gets passed down. But like me, our ancestry from the New England, the Yankees and so forth, we've been Americans for 400 years, 300 or 400 years, whatever it is, and somehow these stories don't always get passed down. So she knew nothing about her English mother, who was a baker. And the reason I said the word baker, because off and on the Demuth side, there's bakers in our lineage, and on the Hughes side, there's bakers in our lineage. There's bakers all over the place. So it was quite common from the Northeast. So the story on Who Do You Think You Are was about her English side, the Baker heritage. And those people settled in Cincinnati, Ohio in the early days, early 1800s. And so as the story went along, there were some of the same things that were going on in our family, the Hughes family, that was out there. One of the Hugheses, maybe let me start here, probably before I go on with that story. I know I've got some copies of the pictures that I could blow up at home, but I couldn't find the box. But anyway, this is Luman Hughes and his wife, Lucy. And they came here to Crete as the first group that came. And they brought some sons, and then from there, they went on to there. And I'm going to talk about Lucy. I wish you could see it, because no makeup, no coloring in the hair, and a woman that looks like she had a rough life to get here. So, say what?
What was the husband's name?
Lumen, L-U-M-E-N. So in any case, I'm going to get back to Lucy because there's a tie between Lucy and Sarah Jessica Parker in just about a minute. So, what happened was with Sarah's family, they went to the gold fields. She has two ancestors who went to the gold fields. And we have an ancestor, Austin Ellis Hughes, who went to the gold fields with 4 other people, I think, right, Ryan?
Mm-hmm.
Something along that line. And one was an Adams.
Yeah, William Charles Adams.
Okay. And A.P. Safford, who stayed out there and became territorial governor of Arizona. And then Austin with his brother Benjamin. And they were able to come back. They were able to strike it rich, $3,000 worth of gold. And they came back. We're not sure, and I wish I didn't do my homework to know exactly. There's controversy. Some came across the isthmus, and some came across around the Horn of South America. But they got to Philadelphia, minted their gold into coins, came back. He bought some more land. Unfortunately, his contracted TB, and a few, 5 or 6 years after he got back to Crete, he died, left a infant son and a little older daughter, and the infant son became our direct line to Roland is his name, is our direct line. So, how about Sarah? Sarah's people went out there and they couldn't strike it rich. So, they stuck out there, had no money, and they worked the mines, got sick, and died. So not everybody got rich in the 49 gold rush, but it kind of shows you perils. While he was talking about her history, the man who was conducting the narration and so forth, he said, you are related to an Elwell. If the Elwell came from Massachusetts, almost anybody who's related to an Elwell that came from Massachusetts is related to each other. And so Lucy's family came here in the 1670s, and settled in Gloucester, Massachusetts. So this lady, if I was to take a DNA test and try to match it up with the bank where Sarah has hers, we could be distant cousins. And so it kind of shows you how in this great country, how people have a tendency to, we don't know who we are related to. And of course, Sarah, in Sarah's case, we didn't have this, but in Sarah's case, one of her ancestors ended up in the Salem witch trials. If I remember right, was hung. So that was an interesting story too. But I just thought, well, let me go ahead and tell this story because it's good. I love Henry Louis Gates stories because you get so many surprises. And the biggest surprise I had was Angela Davis. Remember Angela Davis? She's came from the lineage somewhere down the line, the Brewsters that came across in the Mayflower. She has lineage going back to the Mayflower in 1620. So you never know who your cousins are or what's going to happen. So basically, that's what I had on that. It's short, but I just thought, well, this would be filler, because other people coming here and so forth. I hope that I can do 10 or 15 minutes down the road when there's an opportunity. And I have 2 or 3 planned that would be a regular presentation if the board so decides that it's a good idea. So that will happen later in the year. But I need Mr. Russell, Chris Russell, to show me how to put all this stuff. I'm trying to figure a way to organize it by topic, because my father really, when he went through all this stuff, really just scattered it later on in his life. He'd look at it and so forth, but then didn't put it back where it belongs. So much for that, but I do have a story. I do have a story. It's a family story about Crete, not related directly to me. And we're coming up to Memorial Day. It happened last September. A fellow classmate by the name of Bob Winnichka. Maybe nobody knows that name. He kind of disappeared, but he was on the football team, and I did reach out to a few classmates. Some people remembered him, some didn't. When he graduated from high school, he was drafted to go to Vietnam, and he served, was able to come back, but when he came back, he never was the same. He had a small child and a wife. He deserted. He deserted the rest of his family. His sister worked years to try to find him. He just became a wanderer. And she finally, in 1990, her name is Mary, and she's married to my cousin David Wallenberg, and this is why I know this story. She did find him and pick him up alongside the road, but he denied that he was her brother. And they got into a fight, and he got out of the car. He was found on the street last September, dead. He never connected with anybody, he just wandered. What happened? Was he there when somebody torched the houses of the peasants and he saw children and women killed? Was he so blooded that he hit one of those traps, booby traps? What happened? But could it be so much that when he came back, that he couldn't even face his wife or his own child? Would it be guilt complexes because he took part in it? Was it that he just observed it? I do know this a little bit. He was in one of my classes, only one, but he was masculine, but he was soft-spoken, just an easygoing guy. And something triggered it and he died. So I say this as we come to Memorial Day. The Vietnam War killed him, but he did not die in Vietnam. He was killed. He was killed, his spirit and his soul were killed. And so with all these veterans today, I hope to God that the man with the chainsaw is done. I hope that our veterans that are suffering from all the wounds of war will get the mental health and get the things they need, because they're victims as much as anybody else. And so my prayer is that that can be handled and not left behind. Let me say this, I was at a high draft number, so I never went. 336 or 338. So I never went. None of my cousins went to war. None of their boys and girls went to war. So I'm willing to pay the taxes, and I'm willing to do anything I can to help those people, because they allowed me to have my life, to make my money, and to enjoy a little bit of life. And nobody in DC should do what they're doing right now. I'm sorry. I'm not going to get political, but what's going on is not right. That's all I got to say on that. So remember on Memorial Day, the Bob Winnichkas that were out there too. And I hope to be down here, so I'll be there. And as far as I'm concerned, the last 3 years, I've taken an American flag and a Continental flag and gone to the Crete Cemetery to put on each side of the gravestone of William Hughes, who served in the Revolutionary War. And I learned by going through how Winston had put it out there. I have 6 Revolutionary War soldiers. And Lucy's father and Lucy's grandfather were there, and Lumen's father, which is William, and grandfather were there for the American Revolution. We have a distant cousin who signed the Declaration of Independence. And so I will honor, by going there, not so much about William, but all those who made it possible for us to have our liberty and the opportunity that we have today. And I don't mean to get into dissertation, but I wanted to say that. So thank you for letting me. And you all have a beautiful Memorial Day weekend.